what can you do if you can't really transition all the way because of safety and money issues? Let's just assume she's in a place that that she's being honest.
Honestly,
She
the
can't
one
do
thing I
it.
always tell people is all you can do is what you can do, and it can be overwhelming, and it can, for lack of a better term, suck to not be able to do everything that you want. But really, all you can do is take those steps that you can do now and prepare for, putting yourself in a position to get those things when things change.
Ladies and gentlemen and friends beyond the binary, welcome to Being Trans with Lilith and Amanda. I am Amanda Bonanza. Below me is Lilith Elektra, and to my left is CEO and founder of the Transverse and host of the Transgender Show, Emily Kalin. Hello, everybody. How you doing today?
Been better?
Yeah. So that clip we just started with is we do a show besides this one. What we do with this show is we answer your questions, that you give us and that the community gives us about the transgender experience, and then I take those and I edit them down and compile them into coherent, watchable videos. And that's a show called Transition Tuesday that we do on the Transverse every Tuesday here on YouTube.
Are you saying the live show is not watchable?
No, the live show is wonderful, absolutely fantastic, and we're so glad you're here.
Yes.
But
Important that you're here.
If you want like the concentrated version, like the concentrated dose of getting to the meat, that's what Transition Tuesday is. And that clip that we showed you to start the show today was going to be the episode that aired this coming Tuesday, and that is no longer going to be aired because if you might have clipped, the title was there real quickly for a bit. It was how can I transition if if it's not safe or if I can't afford it or something like that. I'm paraphrasing it. I don't have it in front of me, but
if I don't feel safe. Yeah.
If I don't feel safe, how can I transition if I don't feel safe? And the advice that we gave was before the results of last Tuesday's election and the reality of what the United States is facing coming forward. And so what we are going to talk about today is exactly that reality and what it means for the community and all Americans. So that's what today is. So if you do have questions, go ahead and put them in the chats in the Zoom or in the YouTube and in the Twitch. But we're going to do our best. We're going to get to what we do, and it's probably going to be a little longer running episode today. That's that. I don't know. Does anyone else have anything you want to add here?
I just wanted to kind of put the disclaimer out there. This is sort of going to be a darkest timeline type of talk. And so we can sort of trigger warning, fair warning to people watching, like we're going to get pretty serious here. And let's go ahead and throw in there that all of these opinions are of our own individual and not reflective of the Transverse itself.
Right. Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. They do not reflect the opinion of the Transverse organization. So
thank you, advertisers. Thank you very much. Thank you, YouTube. We still need that money. Patreon.com/thetransverse. So Donald Trump is president-elect of the United States of America. The Republican Party controls the Supreme Court, the House of Representatives, the executive branch, and the Senate. And due to the election results, there is a mandate of the people. So they have everything they need to go ahead and go forward. They've all admitted openly now that the election's over and it's official that actually Project 2025 is in fact the agenda, and they are going to do all of those things that they openly stated that they were going to do and announced it on the internet for all to look at. And somehow it's worked and still got through, and they're going to do all that stuff. And that means a lot, not only for us as transgender people, but for everybody in the United States And actually, a lot of the rest of the world is going to be really greatly impacted by this, and in a very negative way. There's nothing good that's coming of this. This is all very, 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 very bad. And we're going to try and go through like the scope of how bad it actually is and what we think you should do about it, and what, well, I'm not, maybe not even that, but we're going to talk about what we're going to do about it for ourselves. Does anyone else want to opine or come in
No, that
on
was
that?
thank you for that. A very important classification. This is an advice on what you should do. This is what we're planning on doing and the
Yeah.
why.
What Lilith always says, like, you gotta do what feels right for you. And I went through that all this week. I flip-flopped on what I was gonna do and what felt right and what felt wrong. And you have to do what's right for you. And I've often said that the way I think is not just for your transition or for trans people. Everyone should really reflect on where they are in life and do what's best for them. And I think part of the reason, I've always said it kind of joking, part of the reason people hate trans people is because, we break out of those boundaries. And it's like, if you have some shitty job that you hate and you feel stuck in and you don't see a chance of moving on, how does it look when, someone like me's out here fucking changing my gender and living my best life? And it's just like, you all have that, and it's going to be hard now. You have hard choices to make. Real hard. And, yeah, I don't even know how to expand. You have hard choices to make, and one thing I always say is
a not hard choice is if you have a shitty job, now's a great time to fucking quit.
Great time to quit.
Like, that's a great time to
They're
quit
gonna-
your shitty fucking
Well,
job.
I mean, they're gonna be firing you in a few weeks anyway, so.
Well, I mean, depending on who knows how that's going to go, really, and
Oh.
so much is going to depend. This is going to vary from state to state too, but ultimately, nowhere is going to be safe. Like there's going to be more of a holdout in California, Washington, Oregon, New York, maybe Illinois. And that's kind of it. Maybe Colorado.
Well, and but the thing to remember is, what we need to get into and talk about are some of the provisions of Project 2025 that will make it easy for them to make us illegal. And if they're able to do that,
as in our existence, by the way.
Yes. And we'll get into how, at a federal level, then even if states push back, I don't know that there's a whole lot they can do, because again, once this gets up to the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court's going to decide whether or not those rules are valid and can apply.
And we know how they're going to go.
Yeah. Yeah, these are all very important things to know and to keep in mind. And my basic thing, where I started, and I've heard this from several people, I was really kind of surprised and in a way relieved, honestly, to hear Erin in the morning, Erin Reed. One of the first things that she said after the election was, get your passport ready. Make sure your passport is up to date. Mine, I haven't changed my name legally yet, and I've been keep kicking that can down the road. And now it's just like, I need to renew my passport as soon as possible because it is expired.
Monday, you need to click that send button.
And I have to get the photo. But
everyone.
Yeah, but I'm gonna get that first, regardless of the name and the gender marker on there. I'm just gonna let it go because it doesn't matter if it allows me to leave the country. That's all that I care about.
The passport, by the way, like that, like currently, you can just choose your gender marker.
You don't have to provide anything. So, like when I had my old passport with my dead name on it. I paid to have it expedited. I had it back in a little less than a month, which is, I mean, that was fast, but it's still, the time is now. Sent in my old passport, my legal name change document, and you can just choose your gender currently.
Yeah.
The only problem is, I think there are other groups that are more vitriol that are ahead of the line of us. But one thing is going to be easy enough is you don't even have to do any work to rescind gender markers, to change that, to revoke passports. It might take a while for them to go through all the paperwork and find out who we are, but I've got that on there, and
that's the other part about it is I got mine renewed last summer, and it was really fast. It was very easy. I was very surprised at how easy and how fast, and mine was almost 10 years expired. And so like
Mm.
a passport, when you get it, lasts for 10 years. And if it expires, you have another 10 years on top of that to renew it. No questions asked. They just give it to you. So if you have ever had a passport, it's a pretty fast, easy
But that's
payment
what I'm saying.
process.
This is also for people who have a
Yeah, that's
current
if you've had
passport.
one.
If you don't have one, I'm
Or
pretty sure
a
you have
9
to
years
get
expired one.
if you have it, if you have a passport, expired or not, that's what we're talking about. If you don't have a passport, it's been forever. Like you might have to track down birth certificates or whatever it takes to get all that. I'm gonna tell you off the top of my head, it's been so long since I did that. I'm not sure what you need, but that needs to be first thing. Also, we talked about this pre-show, like every state was supposed to go to a real ID driver's
Yeah,
license system. They kind of dragged their feet on it. If you have a real ID, you can get
you
into
can get to
Canada
Mexico and Canada.
with that. So,
Um, the other thing I was going to say about passports is what mine was really fast when I did it a year and a half ago. It's not going to be as fast right now because everyone's doing
everyone's
this. They
doing
are
it.
Yeah.
getting flooded,
And that's what
flooded with this.
when I say that I'm not able to change my name or gender marker, it's because the online there's a new online service to do it very quickly. You don't have to send anything in. You just can do it online very quickly. And the only stipulation is it doesn't allow you to change anything. It only works
And
online if you're just
And do that.
rubber
Fuck
stamping
your
it.
gender marker.
I don't. Yeah,
Fuck your
I don't want to.
paperwork. Get out.
I don't want to do that. Have a valid passport. If you haven't legally
Yeah,
changed your name and
it
you
doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
just get
This
it.
stuff doesn't matter
Well,
anymore. Just
and
get the paperwork so you can leave.
Amanda, you brought up a really good point too. Or I'm sorry if it was Lilith. You mentioned the word revoking. So in Texas, they're currently revoking any updated driver's licenses. They were doing that, before Trump's election, and so that is a possibility going forward. So that's another reason why I'm like just leaving it with the legal name and gender marker. That's fine as long as the photo matches. Then I'll be good. I'll get some looks and I'll get people
Right.
being shitty. But if I get
You'll
across
get
the border
across
early
the
enough,
border.
it should be
That's
fine.
what counts.
Yeah.
And what I was saying by that was like that's a federal thing. They're revoking stuff at the state level.
Yeah.
Excuse me, the state level for like in red states, obviously, and Texas is the worst of all of them. But that's not at the federal level yet because the president still is Joseph Biden. So like that's not at the federal level, but you better fucking believe that that's going to change real fucking fast come January 20th when that motherfucker gets sworn in. And I don't think they're going to do anything before that. The things that are going to happen before that are going to be citizen shit, and you're already kind of seeing it. Like the Trumpers got loud again, and I mean I live in Ventura County with Emily, and literally the night of the election, all the Trumpers like lit off fireworks, and now there is a literal giant fire in the city that I live in. Half of the city I live in Camarillo is on fire, and it's been a raging fire for this is the fourth day that it's been going, and houses have burned down, people have lost everything they own, like people have died, like they wasted no time into literally burning down the fucking country, like and it's this is the start. What did I see? I saw some photos from University of North Carolina in Greensboro, and there were students, they had put up whites only, coloreds only signs on water fountains, and they were protesting with signs that's like, your body, my choice, types of property, slaves, women, cars, houses, blah
Yeah.
blah 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 blah. Point of it is these people are loud again. They're emboldened, and going forward, they're going to have the full backing of the 100% power and might of the United States government. That's what's coming down the barrel. Like they don't have that yet, but I mean, chances are, if you get into some sort of like altercation with some motherfucker like this, if it gets physical and the police get involved, probably they're going to side with them. Like that's going to be how that's going to kind of go. So you have to be concerned about that a little bit for safety stuff. But this is before he even gets there. I mean, we were talking about like worst case scenarios. That's where my mind goes. I predict that day one, he's going to get sworn in and he's going to waste no time. Immediately, he's going to issue a barrage of executive orders. I think the first one's going to be closing the border. I think that's going to be the first thing he's going to do.
That definitely, I believe that, I don't know where it's going to be in his order of priorities, but I have a feeling that very, very early on, he is going to pardon the people involved in the insurrection attempt.
Absolutely.
And the coup attempt on January 6th. And what that's going to do is it's not just going to let people out of prison. What that's going to do is that's going to allow the leadership of organizations like the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers, who have been relatively silent, relatively quiet since the leadership was locked up. Now it's going to give them pardon and give them free reign again and be like, no, you all were right all along. So they're going to be even more bolstered. And all of those people that were put in prison, in federal prison, will be able to own guns and carry guns again because they were pardoned. So the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, those sort of like roving mobs, like quote unquote counter protesting and carrying weapons and Nazi propaganda.
Right-wing terrorist groups
that's
is the right
going
word
to
for
be
that. They're right-wing terrorist organizations.
That's going to be 10 times worse now because they're going to be completely emboldened. They're going to know that they have the entire backing, the backing of the entire federal government, and as at least Amanda will say, the backing of the police force.
And the military.
Oh, absolutely.
And the military.
Mhm.
So that's the other thing is,
Well, yeah, the
Trump has
military-
announced that they're
the
going to turn the
military-
military on the citizenry.
Well, the military held up promotions for almost the entirety of Joe Biden's thing because they couldn't quick them. Instead of doing them one by one and getting people in, which they could have done, they could have overridden Tommy Tuberville's, stance of holding up the mass. They could promote everyone en masse. Instead of going one by one and forcing it through, they just sat there and waited for him to change, and he didn't. And if you're waiting, oh my God, if you're sitting here thinking Democratic leadership or the fucking ACLU has lawyers at the ready, I'm sorry, like lawyers at the ready is not going to do shit. The Democratic Party is not going to do shit.
Theocratic fascism.
The party's over. It was never a party to begin with, but it's over. Like, prepare for the worst, expect the worst, and you know what? If it's not worse, you're in Ontario in 6 months, and it turns out it wasn't the worst, then you can reestablish and refigure out what's doing. You can change as the times change, but right now you should expect the worst. All the people that got hand slap sentences for January 6th. I mean, we saw the whole nation saw it happen live on TV, and in 4 years, Merrick Garland couldn't do anything. He put fucking the animal head dude in prison for a handful of months.
Grandma food.
Grandma got time served for whatever the fuck she did. So if that's what the Democratic Party did when they had the opportunity to do something, don't hold your breath now. Do not hold your breath now.
And as we talked about a good deal before the show, and I was hesitating on whether or not to say this, but I think it is really important because I'm hearing it from several people. I'm dubious when people say we've been here before. And they kind of brush it off and brush off the severity of this time around. And there's very many reasons why we have not been here before. First off, we've never had a president who has been promised by the Supreme Court in a ruling that he has unchecked power. They've already established that as a Supreme Court ruling. As long as you can couch it, describe it as, pretend it's official business, there's nothing that you can do that you will be held accountable for. So unchecked presidential power. And the thing is
in the hands of Donald Trump, by the way.
Yes. Well, and
our
in
current
Trump's
president
first
has
presidency,
unchecked power, doesn't seem
that's the
intent
other
on
thing.
using it. Sorry,
President
I didn't want to
Joseph
interrupt you, Emily.
Biden could do
let Emily
something about
finish.
this right now. Right today, he could fix this.
During Trump's first presidency, he had people within his own group within the White House. There were federal employees that worked to countermand and undermine the negative and horrible things that he was doing to continue like a continuous, the sort of level of professionalism and the code of conduct that the government should adhere to. He's not going to have those guardrails and those checks anymore. And then the other thing is that the right wing folks that are bringing forth all of this legislation and this Project 2025, they've been through it enough from a legislative standpoint and seen how the Democrats and those lawyers fight back against these things, and they're writing them differently. They're writing the executive orders and the bills differently to because they know the game plan for attacking what the way they've been writing it, and so they are more prepared for that. So,
and this has
like
been
I
going
said,
on
it
for
is.
This has been going on for decades. What you're talking about is they write laws, and then the Supreme Court will reject it, but Justice Thomas or Justice Alito will write a dissent that has some sort of weird thing, and it says, "Oh, well, this is why this isn't working." And then they come back and with a new law in 5 years that does get approved. But right now, it's
none of that matters.
None of that matters.
They're not going to have the pretense of that. Once they're officially there, they're not going to even pretend to go through the motions anymore because they don't have to.
They don't have to.
They don't have to. They're done. Like proto-fascism. This is the end of proto-fascism. Come January 20th, it is full-blown fascism, and fascism is not worried about what the other party thinks. There is no other party. The other party is the enemy of the state and will be arrested as such, as Donald Trump has announced that he is going to do.
Or you always have to keep patsies. I mean, Putin always has someone who runs against him and gets 4%. He's the state-approved. State-approved opponent who gets 6% of the vote and, concedes and was just like, well, you know what, I'm on board with that. And, if, Nancy Pelosi's not going anywhere. None of those people are going anywhere. They're going to be the minority that they need to be the punching bag. Maybe they will. I don't know.
It doesn't fucking matter.
I can't believe
who fucking cares what happens to those fucking dickwads. Like, they did this. Like, they can eat shit. I don't care if they go to prison. They suck shit and they're worthless. Like, they fucked us all. Like God damn it. Like, okay, like
whatever. I have to share this every time shit really goes bad. I'll always text Amanda. I have this sticker I made of Nancy Pelosi kneeling. I don't know if you remember this in 2020. She was kneeling in the kente cloth. And I made a sticker with it. And every time shit hits the fan and like the Democrats, I always put there. I know whatever happens to me, Nancy will be there kneeling for me, praying to whatever she believes.
If nothing else, you can count on her to tear up a piece of paper. She'll do that. She does that like nobody's business.
Iconic girl.
Well, and the great thing though, the thing that we will have through all of this as a trans community is we will absolutely have the thoughts and prayers of.
We will have the thoughts of prayers. We will have that.
Of prominent Democrats and and people with no power whatsoever in this new regime.
You got to get out. Like it not just trans people, but everyone. Like it's not just
let's say that. That's one thing I always say all the time. Every time I give advice, I'm like, this isn't just for trans people. This is how you should live your life. Like
this is for everybody.
if you're an electrician and you think that you're gonna stay in your union and you're gonna have good pay.
Oh yeah, unions are going away.
Yeah, fuck that. If you got a great job in a factory because of the CHIPS Act, you fuck that too. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. So let's hit really quick on what I mentioned earlier, the ways in which they're going to make it illegal to be trans.
Yeah.
So first off, one of the things that we're going to see is we're going to see a federal abortion ban and a federal trans surgery ban.
I mean, I saw a commercial.
No, and not only trans surgery, it'll be all transgender care. It'll be hormones will be illegal too. So
for
best
transgender
case
people, not for
scenario
cis
is you're
people.
forced to detransition.
Yeah, cis people
That's the
can
best
still
case
get
scenario.
breast
Well, they'll still
augmentation
be
and
able to
breast
do it.
yeah.
So cis people will be fine.
But where it gets really sinister, and we're not being being facetious when we say being trans will be illegal. This is a law that we've seen put forth in states already, that any type of pornography results in jail time. And the secondary clause is that presenting in a manner or clothing that isn't congruent with your assigned gender at birth is pornographic.
Yeah.
And then you also have stuff like we didn't talk about this recently, but like Odessa, Texas has a thing where they have a bounty now, much like Texas as a state has for abortions, they have it for trans people. If you see a trans person using a bathroom not of their gender, they can report you and you owe them $10,000. And if you want to talk about, if you think like, oh well, the legal system, like that there in no universe should that be legally allowed. And again, if
the legal system's not going to matter.
If allies were allies, Colin Aldred could just be hanging out in Odessa, Texas, turning in every priest's wife who uses a public restroom and tie up the court system with it. But they're not going to do that.
Brett,
do anything.
Brett in chat and the YouTube chat says, as an Australian, I think there's a bit too much hyperbole there.
Cool.
It's because you're an Australian, you're not in the United States. You're not watching this happen with your own eyes, and we are. And no offense to you, but you quite frankly do not know what you're talking about. Like,
yeah, no, this is literally what they have said that they're going to do in Project 2025.
It's on the website.
It's online.
You can look at it. You can look at it online. They've announced what they're going to do.
This isn't like liberal version of Q. Q was some guy making stuff up and people believed it. Project 2025 is people in Trump's administration printed this as their roadmap for the future. Odessa, Texas passed a law that you could put a bounty on trans people and they'd owe you $10,000 for using a restroom. So I don't know what you think is hyperbole. Like I said, yeah, if I was in Australia, I wouldn't be too worried about leaving the US either. Good for you, I guess. I mean, I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to be rude,
yeah,
but
it's just like, this is serious stuff here for us in the United States, and like talking about it like from literally as far as you could be on Earth away from it. And I'm not saying you don't know what you're talking about. Like I know it's not like safe to be trans really anywhere, but it's a lot better there than it is here, and it's not as crazy. And so to come at it from like, well, I'm in Australia and this sounds like hyperbole. Yeah, you're right. It does sound like hyperbole.
Oh, it sounds like fucking bizarro bullshit.
It's fucking insane, but it's real as shit. Like, and we've got to deal with this. And I don't know what to do. I mean, I know what I'm doing. Like, to me, there is no option here. You can say that was it hyperbolic for the people to be outraged when Hitler came to power in Nazi Germany, or when Francisco Franco came to power and the people warned about that? Like, what about like when Putin came to power and people warned about that, or when North Korea happened? Like, I mean, how about the Iranian Revolution? Was that hyperbole? Like, I mean, these are the same things. This is theocratic fascism. This is not like, oh, the Republicans won and we don't like Republicans because we're Democrats. That's not what this is. Like, this is an entirely different thing, that they announced what they were going to do. They went through a playlist and they checked off the boxes of fascism, and now they have all the power to and no bulwarks to put in place to stop them to do whatever they want. So why wouldn't they? Are they going to change their minds about hating trans people? Are they going to, was that all fake just to get them elected so they could sit back and keep everything the same, but give themselves a couple tax breaks? It's like, that's not what this is. Like, and so like, once again, I don't mean to be rude, but you just don't understand. You are ignorant to the realities of what it's like in the United States right now. And it's no offense to you, but like, it's just, that's not what it is.
Lilith, sorry, I saw that you don't have the privileges for posting links in chat. I just fixed that, so you can paste it in there again.
So there's your Project 25 for the, and yes, Americans don't understand it's a constitutional republic, not a direct democracy. Cool, Brett. I mean, cool. I'll take that.
Yeah.
I'll take that out of the country with me. That secure knowledge that
It never was a
don't
true democracy.
I do
Great.
not know
Thanks.
what the
That
point of
changes
telling us that
nothing.
is. That doesn't
Yeah, thank
change
you.
anything.
Also, I like
Let's
bread.
not get too salty with the
Yeah,
with
like
the,
I
with
mean,
the
no,
chat.
I mean, like you want to be contrarian, that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion, like, and you're okay. Like, but you literally don't know what you're talking about. Like, you don't understand. Like, you can talk about. Like, I'm glad that as a trans Australian, you really understand the finer points of U.S. constitutional law. Like, that's amazing. That's really incredible. Like, I mean, it's great. But like, how is that going to change the fact of what's actually happening here? Like, and what that is. Like, I'm curious as to that. Like, and it's a moot point anyway, because like, I mean, maybe we are wrong, maybe we're really crazy and we're overreacting, but this is how it feels. And we're not doing this because we think, because we heard something over Facebook. Like, all three of us are intelligent, fact-based, like fact-based human beings that don't talk about things we don't know about. Like, we're educated people that understand our situation and have been paying attention. I used to work in politics. I worked on the Bernie Sanders campaign. I worked on the Pramila Jayapal campaign as a strategic consultant. So I know the inner workings of politics, and I know what this is, and I've seen this. And if you think that, like, oh, because there's a constitutional thing, like, they don't care about the Constitution. They don't like the Constitution. They've openly stated that they want to get rid of it. Donald Trump is on television. You can type Donald Trump wants to get rid of the Constitution on YouTube and watch a video of Donald Trump saying out loud in front of people on television that he wants to get rid of the Constitution. So what are you talking about?
Lilith, would you actually also go ahead and put the slightly more focused version, which is what's the 47? What's Trump's personal 47 plan?
Oh, Agenda 47.
Agenda 47. Thank
All right.
you.
That I don't know about, but I will find it.
The filibuster does not stand, and nothing stands. Full control of all branches and all aspects of government by theocratic fascists. The filibuster won't be there. They're gonna run over everything. And it doesn't matter. Like, I mean, fine, Bud, Brett, like, whatever you think, like, you go, guy. Like,
I mean,
I'm glad
here's the
you
thing.
feel so confident.
Here's the
like,
thing
over there.
And this is the thing I always talk
Congratulations.
about. I just want to be real. This is the kind of thing we talk about when we talk about, well, Democrats are going to do this, and the ACLU has lawyers involved. You could talk all you want about the rules. The rules are out the window. There's one thing we've learned in the Donald Trump era is that there's no mechanism in place for someone who, like, we have rules, but no one does anything if you don't follow them.
Yeah.
And so we could have, you know what? We had a filibuster. You used to have to talk the whole time to stop a bill from going through. And then a couple years ago, it was just like, you just have to declare a filibuster and you don't have to talk. And that's why it's so easy to stop anytime Republicans are disadvantaged. That's why it's so easy. They don't have to get up there and talk for 4 days straight and not concede the floor. They just have to say they're going to filibuster it, and it's filibustered. And now, if they control the House and the Senate, they can just vote to get rid of the filibuster.
And even if they don't, Donald Trump can write an executive order and the Supreme Court will uphold it. So what are you talking about? Like, and quite frankly, at this point, Brett, and like I said, you're entitled to your opinions, but as far as I'm concerned, you've exhibited an incredible amount of ignorance to the situation, and I'm no longer going to be responding to you.
There we go. Let's
you
move on.
You got your say. Keep posting all you want. It's fine. You're allowed to.
No, Emily posted. She had asked about Agenda 47, but I see she already posted it.
Yeah, I just went for the Wikipedia one. I'm sure that's not the greatest, but it'll talk about it and probably get you links to it. So
I went right to the horse's ass. So
there you go. Perfect. I just didn't want to give link, but yeah, I see where it's important to do that. I just didn't want to send traffic over there. So here's one of the things that I've been thinking of that's been because I've heard people say, Trump talks a lot of bullshit. Nothing he says is real. He doesn't follow through with a lot of his things, like lock her up. Like as soon as he got in, he's just like, blah, 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 blah. That's not even the problem. Like if people aren't worried about Trump becoming Hitler, the problem is that all the people that he's going to put in place, and this is where I'm going to let Wiley talk about some of his appointments. Sorry. I'm going to let one of the others talk about it. But because I know enough about it, but it's better to have somebody who is a little bit more versed in it, and that's not me.
Trump didn't get here because he's some sort of genius with all these ideas. He's a vessel for these people like J.D. Vance and Peter Thiel to use, and he's the populist front of this. And yeah, he's not going to do any of this shit. He's going to play golf, every other day, and he's going to eat Big Macs, and then when he dies, the machine goes on.
I mean, I could speculate that they might even get rid of him now that they've got the power. Like they might just bring in the 25th Amendment and get rid of him and prop up Vance right away and just
the one amendment they haven't talked about getting rid of.
Yeah, like I mean, they might just ditch him now that he's achieved the goal. Like they can just be like, all right, you are too crazy and you're stupid. Let's get you out of the way and we'll do the things that we want without your dumbass fucking saying stupid shit anymore. And you can go play golf and you'll get all the money you want. And here you go. Like that's a possibility. To be perfectly honest, I don't fucking care what they do internally. It doesn't matter to me. Like this is fascism. Like it's what's going to happen to all of us is what I care about, and everyone in the country. And as I mentioned earlier, it extends well beyond just the United States, because there's a couple things that are going to happen that are going to affect like global economics. Like foreign policy is going to get really bad. Trump is a Putin stooge, and he will dismantle NATO. That's going to be one of the first.
I just want to throw this in there because someone mentioned
Europe's in fucking trouble with that.
I just want to mention this. You mentioned Putin stooge just because someone brought up third parties. Jill Stein's a Putin stooge too. I mean, you can see her talking about that online as well. And third parties would be great. It'd be great if Jill Stein put in the work between presidential elections to build a Green Party from the bottom up. I don't know why the Green Party thinks they can win a presidential election and accomplish anything.
Office like the entire United States on any level.
Win a city, board of directors or something. Win a mayoralship or something. But Jill Stein's a cicada who doesn't do anything and then makes a lot of noise every 4 years and then goes away. So third party be great. There are some states that have ranked choice voting, which is great, but also don't
states have anything. There are no more elections.
Well, I'm saying, but I'm saying, it is all over. But it's just like you can't not put in the work to build your party and then say every 4 years we should vote for Jill Stein, who, whatever. I mean, that Jill Stein president. Any bill we could send, the House could vote to send $1 billion in weapons to Israel, and she could veto it, and then they can just override her veto. I mean, it would be essentially worthless. Ralph Nader, Ralph Nader is great. Ralph Nader did a lot for this country. I didn't vote for him because I thought it was stupid, but it'd be essentially worthless as president. And so if you're going to tell me, like, if the Green Party wants to be viable, then the Green Party should have been working on that between presidential elections. Just show up every 4 years and be like, I've got a plan. And what's the plan?
Well, and on that point, I mean, like you can just see in the major parties, look how worthless Obama's presidency was because of all the blocks that he got from the Republican Party. Like they wouldn't let anything through. They changed the rules randomly. McConnell did about the Supreme Court justices. He just made that up he pulled it out of his ass and blocked the appointment of Merrick Garland to the Supreme Court. So,
although to be fair, the last 4 years of Merrick Garland, I don't know if we were missing much.
Wow, no, I never liked Merrick Garland, but he would have been better than fucking Gorsuch, but it wouldn't have mattered because they would have got all of this is irrelevant. None of this fucking matters. Like, it doesn't matter what happened before. It doesn't matter what the fuck the Green Party's fucking doing. It doesn't matter what the fucking Democrats are doing. That shit is over. What we need to talk about now is what is going to happen and what we're going to fucking do about it. And right now, like Emily mentioned, I'd like to get back on track. Emily mentioned about it because it isn't just Donald Trump. It's the whole machine of the Republican Party and all the money that backs it, which includes the Heritage Foundation, all the right-wing think tanks, the Heritage Foundation. Elon Musk is a big part of this. The richest man on earth who hates woke and think it's a mind virus is now going to be in charge of the Department of Government Efficiency, Doge, if you will. He thought that was really fucking funny because he's so cool. But like, he is now going to be the person that decides where government money gets spent. And what do you think Elon Musk, the richest man on earth, who was just basically a giant piece of fucking stupid shit, like what is he gonna do about the economics? You know what he did say? Here's what we do know for sure, is that he did give a speech and say that everyone's gonna have to sacrifice and we're staring down the barrel of hard times. As the richest man on earth, he said that. He's not going to have hard times. I don't know how much he's going to be sacrificing, but the rest of us will. So there's that. So that's Elon Musk in charge of that.
I actually have an insight into how Elon Musk will be doing.
Yeah.
All of this stuff because Trump and is such a stooge for Musk and vice versa. Tesla and SpaceX stock has gone up significantly. He is worth $300 billion now.
I saw that.
Yeah. I mean,
so hard times.
Hard times for him.
Hard
what
times.
a sacrifice. He's such a hero.
Oh, well,
we
that's
are going to
not
have to tighten
money.
our belts.
That's not real money. That's money.
But you know,
money.
hard times. Everyone's gotta pitch in for him.
This is going to be a lot of bootstrapping. We're gonna tug on those bootstraps, everybody.
That's the money part. That's one aspect of the money part. Okay, let's talk about the border. Who's going to be in charge of that? Our good friend Stephen Miller. Y'all remember Stephen Miller? He was the bald guy that he sprayed on hair for the one thing, and he was just like, he once in high school did a protest where he ran in a women's track meet and outran the women's track racers and then made fun of them when he beat the women he was like a senior and it was like the freshman girls track team and he beat them and then he made fun of them. Stephen Miller it's funny because he's a Jewish man. He's of Jewish heritage, but he's a full-blown fucking fascist Nazi that hates immigrants. And he is going to oversee the border policies. That's what Stephen Miller is going to do. Go ahead and look up Stephen Miller. It's spelled with a PH, so Stephen Miller, Miller.
This is not the Steve Miller. This is not from the Steve Miller band.
Not from the Steve Miller band.
Okay.
Not
I was like, this guy seems pretty. I'm looking.
That guy's kind of cool. Like I gotta admit, like I'm pretty okay with Steve Miller. Like not this Stephen Miller. I don't like Stephen Miller. I do like Steve.
All right. Yeah.
So don't confuse him with with old Maurice, the space cowboy.
I love I love the important clarification. Thank you both for clearing that.
I want to make sure.
Yes.
That's the border. Here's a thing that no one seems to be really talking about, and we'll see what happens with this because Lilith will punctuate this a little for me. I know. The plan currently to put in charge of the Department of Health and Human Services (HHS) is RFK Jr., Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is a crackpot nutball anti-vaxxer who wants to get rid of fluoride in the water and make vaccines illegal.
Not a doctor, a lawyer. Yeah. So no training in medicine. I will say the one bright spot here, and we talked about this a little earlier before the show, is that he is coming so hard against vaccines and stuff that I think the big pharma is going to try to make sure that RFK Jr. is not in charge of that. Because there's still, as much as we'd love to crush that stuff, there's still money to be made. So I just feel bad for anyone who's going to have to listen to RFK Jr. give speeches or answer questions at a press conference because I don't know what's wrong with his voice. Probably eating too much roadkill bear or something. But
eating bear that he found
but
dead in the woods,
I would
or
also
like
say
the
that most of
worm
these
in his
people,
brain.
aside from Stephen Miller, I think most of these people, if they can just be the faces, I like Elon Musk, he just wants money from the government. He just wants tax dollars going to SpaceX. He just wants
No,
tax
he's
dollars
got
going
more
to
than
the
that.
um
He's the anti-woke guy. He wants to crush
but
the woke mind
but
virus. Like,
most of these people are working behind the scenes. You're not going to know names of most of these people.
it's not
Um
gonna matter.
it's
It's
not
not
going to
gonna
matter.
matter. Like none of like we're I'm telling you these things just so you can kind of get an idea of what's actually coming down the pike, because it's like it's so much more than just what's on the surface. And so like the one thing that's for sure is, trans or not trans, the America is arguable, but from my perspective, like it's not been a great place to live for the last like 30 years or so. I've watched it steadily decline. I have been malcontent. I have been not happy with the way things are, with healthcare, with economics, with housing, with the our work to life balance, as they like to call it. Like none of that really works really well. And you look outside of the United States and you see, oh wow, those other systems seem to work really well. Why can't we do that? And it's like, oh well, because we don't want to be socialist or whatever. But here's the thing: is the things that are bad about the United States are all going to get very much amplified and be much, much worse. The things that were good about the United States, the things that a lot of us here take for granted, like Social Security, like Medicare, like
Human
any sort of
rights.
disability benefits, human rights, free speech, the ability to protest, the ability to form a union, like little things of being able to criticize the government without fear of arrest. Those things are all going away. All the good things about the United States are going to be gone. And then so we've got an amplification of the bad things, the disappearance of the good things, and also a host of really, really bad new things piled on top of that. So, at the very least, nothing is going to get better. Everything is going to get worse. And that's going to be true across the board, not just for trans people or gay people, even for uneducated white men
Well,
who voted for
let me
Trump
pile on
at
here.
92%.
Let me just say something. It's always been a joke. Like people at protests, like keep the government out of my Medicare, and yeah, the government's going to be out of your Medicare,
Yeah,
and
they
then
are.
you're hopefully going to put together
You're also going to be
that
out of your
you're going to
Medicare.
realize that the government was Medicare when your Social Security's gone. Uh, but man, you know what people really hate? Obamacare. Well, guess what?
That's going to
Guess
go too.
what?
You won't have to
The
worry about
fact that
that
you got
anymore.
health care from the state, the fact that you could get health care with a pre-existing condition, that you could get on Medicare if you were unemployed or you were going through a tough time, all that's gone. And I guess you'll blame Joe Biden or you'll thank Obama or whatever the fuck you're gonna do, but your OSHA's gone. Worker safety's gone. You think $15 minimum wage was where it was insufficient. That's not going to happen. You're losing if you're on any kind of government health care. Old people, your Social Security's gone. I mean, they've already talked about that. I mean, that Trump tried that the first term, and then the whole time running for re-election, and now they've been like, he's not going to get rid of Social Security. Like he tried that. If you have health care through the state, you're going to lose that because the Affordable Care Act is going to be gone. So, I hate to break all that to you at once, but yeah, it's not just trans people getting hurt. It's not just and I've seen a lot of bitching online that the Democratic Party abandoned, white men, and it's just like you look at someone posted like who we serve, and right in there was like people of faith, unions, and workers. It's like, I'm sorry, did it specifically had to say white men for you to realize that you're a union worker or that you go to church or whatever however you want to read people of faith? You know what? I don't know if I told this to Amanda earlier this week. It's like these people are gonna get everything they ask for and nothing that they wanted,
Yeah.
and it's
And
gonna be a
so are the
wake up
rest of
call.
us. Like
Well, the
that's the
rest of
thing is
us,
all the
the
rest of
rest of
us
us
are going
didn't
to get
ask
that
for it.
too. Well, I'm just gonna say, like, it's you. I saw something today about someone like in some like resistance page. It's like, oh, like they're gonna. And I saw something. Heather Cox Richardson wrote an article this morning about like how like the people are already seeing the prices difference, and all the companies have announced this price increase because of Trump's plan on tariffs, and so the companies are preemptively taking actions to like protect themselves from Trump's tariffs, which are the stupidest fucking idea ever. But like they're already raising prices and they're actually outsourcing jobs already because it's just better for them to not really do business here.
It's more
So like
stable, yeah.
yeah. And so what's going on is already the people, and there was like the Wall Street Journal and someone else reported, and all of a sudden these people that voted for Trump because of economic reasons are being like, oh, wait, what? I thought jobs were going to come back, blah, 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 blah. Like, and are realizing the mistake that they already made, but it's too late. It doesn't matter. Like, that's the economy is going to tank. The other thing that I want to talk about the economy real quick is this is unrelated to Trump, but in December of this year, next month, OPEC goes off the dollar and is switching from the dollar to the euro. So the dollar is going to tank like massively. So if you do have money, if your money is in US dollars, I really think it would be very, very smart to divest from the US dollar. Like if you can get your money into euros, I think that's going to be good. And I know you two might disagree with me. I think Bitcoin is a really good place to put your money. And people call it volatile. But the thing about it is volatile, but that's because sometimes it goes up. The dollar just goes steadily down. Like, and so I mean, I'm not saying buy Bitcoin, but I am saying divest from the US dollar. I think euros or pounds sterling are probably the most sound place. The Canadian dollar is probably going to do really well. Honestly, the Russian ruble is probably going to be reliable. It's probably going to go up. So that's just one aspect of it, and that's unrelated to Trump. That was going to happen anyway. Like, but really, like, it's just get the fuck out of here. Like, there is no safe place here. Like, it's going to get so bad. Like, let's talk about women's right. National abortion ban. Like, I mean, have you seen the signs of have you ever heard the phrase "your body, my choice"? That's going
Yeah,
around a lot.
that's coming up a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah.
Trump said he
Yeah.
was against the national abortion ban, so
Oh yeah, you're right. Oh, that's right. He said that. Okay, he's
I
not
mean
going to do it. Okay, we're all good. Never
the world's
mind.
most
Show's
famous
over.
truth teller told me that. So
Um, not only their plan isn't to just eliminate abortion care. Also contraceptive. They've always wanted to ban
Contraceptives
contraceptive
too. Yeah, they
devices.
don't like contraceptives either. All women's health care, by the way, all Planned Parenthoods will be closed. So like whatever you were getting, like because that's the thing is like people that don't know dick about shit think all Planned Parenthood does is abortions, but they do so much more than that, and that's just going to go away. Pretty much everything that's not a church is going to go away. So like that's the other thing is like doctors are in real trouble. If you're a doctor in the United States, you're in real trouble because you are going to have to practice medicine in accordance with RFK Jr.'s
and the Pope.
NHS or whoever they put in charge, but like it's not going to be scientific based. So your understanding of medicine and how to best treat a patient is going to be overridden by the opinions of QAnon conspiracy theorists. What they think about health is going to be what you have to follow, and you are not going to be able to treat patients in the manner that you think is best. You're going to have to follow this arbitrary, ever-changing conspiracy theory thing that you're going to have to keep up on. And if you fuck it up, then you're going to be held liable for stuff. They're going to come after you. So doctors are leaving en masse already. So there's going to be.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Conversion therapy back by the end of 2025?
Oh, absolutely. I think before the end,
I
I honestly think that's the plan for trans people is
I
like
think in
you said they're gonna,
making trans people illegal, yes,
Yeah.
the focus
yeah,
will
that's
be
the
to put
plan.
us not into regular prisons, but into
No, they'll
conversion
make private.
prisons.
Yeah, well, it'll be a private. They'll make their own, our own special place in
I mean,
Arizona, in
it's
a
got to be
private
something they can
facility,
prop. Someone has to be able to
and
profit off of this.
that's what they'll do with us. Is they'll put us there, and they'll just do experiments and see on what the best form of what the most effective form of conversion therapy is, and they'll just see what happens. They'll just try whatever they like. And I mean, that's I don't know that's going to happen, but like, I mean, do you really think that is outside of the realm of possibilities? That's something you want to stick around for? Like, I mean,
Well, let's shift gears back to something that
yeah,
we some things that we know more about what will
right.
happen. They've already been working to dismantle the public education system. And the Republicans don't believe in public education because it's a socialist thing. So they're going to get rid of that. They're going to give everybody vouchers. The fun thing about the vouchers, though, is you're not going to be able, as a middle class person, to get your kids into the schools. They'll be so impacted, and the costs will go up so astronomically. So the only option for schooling will be churches, because that's already what happens
If
in rural
that,
areas where
because
there
the
isn't a
other
public
well, no,
school.
because there is another option, and that will be labor. Like, because the child labor laws are going away, so really what's really going to happen is the option for schooling will be no schooling at all. You'll get to go work at McDonald's and wherever else that they allow children to work, which will be pretty much everywhere.
So
So
let's
that's really what your kids will be doing if you're not rich. If you're
and
rich enough to afford private Christian school in a la PragerU, then will be where your kids can go, and then they can be Hitler Youth. But if they're not, if you can't afford that, then you can go work.
now that one sort of came out of left field a little bit. Let's talk about some of the basis for that. Why do you say that the child labor laws will go away? What
Because they
example?
already have in the state of Arkansas. The governor is Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who was Trump's press secretary, and she became the governor of Arkansas. And one of the first things that she did was get rid of child labor laws. So now children can work, and they do. In the state of Arkansas, children are at work. They are working at McDonald's. They are working wherever they can work. Like, I don't know enough about it. Like, I don't know how bad it's gotten, but child labor laws are on the docket of going away. Like, they're not going to keep those around. Like, they
What have you seen with that, with those child labor laws going away? As far as you say kids are working at McDonald's, what are the sort of the ages? What evidence have you
I
seen of that?
actually I don't know. I just know that they got the rid of the child labor laws. I can maybe suck that back, and I don't have hard data on that.
I'm on
I
it.
The hard data that I have is they revoked child labor laws in the state of Arkansas. That I'm
Lilith can do
100%
I think it's
live
positive.
like,
fact
yeah,
checking.
I honestly believe it's like low teens, like 14,
Yeah.
13 maybe. There's also a thing like Wisconsin has it where there are bars in northern Wisconsin where kids get like 16-year-old can work at a bar, which I mean, McDonald's is whatever. Like, I can't imagine a worse place to work as a 13-year-old at McDonald's, but a 16-year-old at a bar in Wisconsin, what are you gonna do? Like, toss people out? Uh,
Now you're gonna wash the glasses. You're gonna be a bar back. Like, they're not letting kids bartend. Like, I don't know. It's fucking crazy. Like, I there's so much.
Uh,
There's so much. I think we've given the
it's
doomsday
14,
scenario.
14 in Arkansas.
Yeah. Um we've given the doomsday scenario. Let's talk about what we can fucking do about it.
I like that. That we have
Uh
that's perfect timing. We have a question in chat from actual real Molly. What counteractions can we take to fight back? Are we going to passively watch our rights erode due to ignorance? And the start of the show, we were talking about what we're going to do, but we can reiterate that. And this is a good time to talk about what the things we can do.
Personally, I don't think we can do much from here. I've been my kind of mantra, as I've been posting on Facebook with all the stuff. My headline is, you should be either prepare to flee or prepare for violent conflict, because it's if and not preparing is folly. I personally believe that staying here is absolutely foolish. I don't think that most people understand the depths of how and the gravity of what this situation actually is. I'm leaving. Personally, I have made arrangements. I have a friend that lives in Toronto that is helping me, that has offered to put me up and help me with refugee status. And you can get refugee status in Canada, by the way. There's a couple websites. I'll be putting them in links in the description boxes later. This part of this is going to be Tuesday's Transition Tuesday. So I don't know if the links are going to go in this, but on Transition Tuesday show at noon on the Transverse, there will be an abridged version of this show, and it will have the links to as many refugee programs that you can get. That's for LGBTQ people. That's not necessarily for your just women, but it's hard. It's not easy. It's the first step is getting a passport and then figuring it out. If you own property, just liquidate it. Like, honestly, like, just abandon this place. Like, I don't think you can salvage anything. Like,
Take a breath. Take a breath.
yeah.
Like I said earlier, look, I've worked with support groups. We've been doing this, and there's a time where it's like community, and how do you help people navigate the legal system for name change, and how do you help people get started in HRT and help them with all that? And this is not what we're talking about. We're talking about the full force of the federal government steamrolling you. And if you and I got people on my thing who's just like, I'm gonna someone should do this or start fires and do all. Cool. That's not going to happen, because not only we mentioned earlier in this show, it's if you get into something with someone and the police show up, the police have been waiting for this forever. Like, they started
Dying to
they've
hunt
been
us
dying
for sport.
I mean, they've been doing it out in the open with people of color since the start of the country. So, the police are not your answer. You are on your community. Like I said, I don't know what you think is going to happen. You should really make an effort to get out of the country, and don't tell me you can't. We had this conversation the other night, Amanda and I, and it's just like, outside of this situation, can't is not a thing that I believe in. You have to take the steps. And if you say you can't, you're not moving. Of course you can't, because you're not looking to. Um, blue states aren't going to matter. All right.
No,
You're like, no,
it's
states'
not.
rights. That's the whole thing. They're not for states' rights. They're for control, and states' rights were for them to get control of Ohio and Wisconsin and gerrymander the shit out of them.
Yeah.
And take away your
That's
rights.
I think, I don't know if we mentioned it on this show earlier, but the state of California, like Gavin Newsom, on the day after the election, the governor of California assembled the state legislature and got them all together and was like, we're gonna bolster our laws of civil liberties. California will resist. And Gavin Newsom's making a lot of noise about how he's not going to do anything that Trump wants him to do, and I think that's going to hold out for a while. California is going to be safer uh, than other places for a bit. But I don't think what Gavin Newsom understands, and I don't think what anyone else seems to understand, is that I think he's going to change his tune real quick when there's a gun in his face. And if you don't think that the Republican Party, that is theocratic fascists that are steamrolling their way, are going to use violence against their their political enemies, like which Donald Trump has declared he is going to do already, like, I don't think you understand. Like, he says he's going to resist, but all the lawyers in the world can't stop a fascist government hell-bent on getting their way
I would,
with
I
100% of
would,
the power.
I would also say that the last place that said they were going to be the resistance, right after Trump got elected, the mayor of fucking Charlottesville said they were going to be the capital of the resistance, and they didn't do shit when the Nazis came to town.
Yeah.
So, they didn't do anything. So like again, and I hate to hammer it home, and I kind of got in a little angry missive a few minutes ago. If you are waiting for Democrats, if you are waiting for all the lawyers that have the ACLU ready to go and fight for you in court, it's not the game is rigged. One of my favorite quotes of all time, and this has really come home to me, is I don't know if y'all are fans of the show The Wire. One of the characters was complaining about how everything is rigged in city government, and his wife just looked and says, "You cannot lose if you do not play." And that's where we are. We're at a I'm not going to play this game moment. And if you want to stay and play the game, know that it's rigged against you. And
Yeah.
know that all those lawyers, I mean, fucking Sam Alito went back to like a witch hunter in the 1800s to come up with his reason to get rid of abortion. So if you think that he's not gonna go to some fantasy world to come up with a reason to override medical issues that you might have, it's not gonna happen. You
Did you see
cannot
that?
play this game.
Did you see that Trump is citing some 1780s or 90s law for I forget what the first word was. The second word was aliens, but it's like attacking aliens, something like that. To do his work for the border. Like they're going when they said make America great again, and they referenced a previous time when America was great. Apparently it was in the
1789.
late
Okay, that's
1700s, because we're hearing draconian laws from that time period come up multiple times. So yeah, it's gonna be very interesting.
I mean,
I-
it's funny, like they're talking about they're going to deport entire families and immigrants, and it's almost like I'm almost a little jealous, quite frankly. Like it's like oh that'd be at least I would have that
myself,
taken
man.
care of for me. Like it's
Yeah.
like as it is, I have to flee. I've never lived anywhere else besides the United States. I've certainly don't qualify for citizenship anywhere
I've
else.
come here illegally from Ireland, and I demand you send me home.
I was just gonna say, like, this is gonna be horrible. This is gonna be horrible. I should not say this. But just grab a sombrero and say you're from Costa Rica, and they'll just be like, all right, we're shipping you off. Like,
Yeah. But
Yeah,
I honestly, like, you have questions about what you can do. I mean, again, you know, it's rigged. It's again, I get emails every day from the ACLU specifically about they've got lawyers ready to protect your rights, and it's just like, cool. Like, if you're talking about the rule of law, or you're bringing up, well, like the Constitution says this, none of that matters. They are going to do what they want. And the one thing we've seen over the last 8 years is that no one is really there to stop them.
yeah.
Merrick Garland watched a crime happen on January 6th, and in 4 years couldn't put anything together to do anything about it. We all watched it happen live on TV,
If
and
this
nothing.
was gonna stop, if they had the ability or the will to stop this, they would have already. Like this has not been like secret what they're doing, and they've had a million opportunities to do anything about it. I mean, the reason one of Joe Biden's campaign promises with that was that they were going to codify Roe so that they couldn't take it away, and they just didn't do it. Like, I mean, he could have written an executive order, and he just decided not to. Like, Trump
I mean,
himself,
if we're going to be like that, Obama could have passed it. He had the House and the Senate his
yeah,
first
he had a
for
supermajority.
2 years in his first go round. So
They did nothing with it. But I mean, even that, like, I mean, like Trump himself this summer was found guilty on 34 felony counts, and they just let him walk. They didn't sentence him. They just
no, he's getting
opted
sentenced.
not to sentence him.
He's getting
He
sentenced
could
next week. What are you
easily
talking about?
be in prison right now because he's a felon, a convicted felon with 34 counts of felonies. Like, he should be in Rikers, and there's no reason he isn't. Like, no one, what happens when you get when anyone else that's not Donald Trump gets found guilty of 34 felonies, they literally cuff them in the courtroom and take them directly to prison. That's what the bailiff cuffs them, and they escort them to prison. That's how it works for everybody, but not Donald Trump. He just walked out of the courtroom and carried on with his life.
To be fair, that would have divided the country.
Oh yeah, it would have, wouldn't it?
Would
Oh,
have
I didn't
divided
think
the
of that.
country.
I
You
didn't think of
about
that.
that.
Oh
You're not playing the 4D chess that the Democrats are.
Oh, it's true. They are playing that 4-dimensional chess, and it's fucking going great.
Yeah.
They're regrouping
Hold
their
on.
strategy.
Stop. Someone's got something to say.
Oh, Emily, you're muted.
You're muted, Emily.
I had muted. I'm going pretty tangential, so if you want to finish that thought, let's do that.
I mean, my joke's
No.
already
Let's
out.
go.
I lost my groove.
When we're talking about speculation, some of this has been speculation. We're working on a lot of very extremely educated and backed guesses. I want to posit a fun one to y'all because it's one that's been popping into my head. Civil War. Should we have just let them secede? Would that have fixed all of this?
No, we should have. We the lesson we learned there, we should have learned for January 6th. We let them off the hook. We didn't punish any of them for treason. We let them be, we paid for them to be rebuilt. They've been sucking on our teeth since then. All those states that seceded get most of their money from California, New York, and those states. So the mistake was not following through when the war was over, and we made the same mistake on January 6th. We're just like, well, all right, it would divide the country if we punished you. So we'll put the dude with the buffalo head in prison for a while, and we'll call it even. And
a failed coup without repercussions is a training exercise.
And we did talk about that. I think was it just before the show or was it on? I forget. But one of the big things and where I get most scared, again, sort of going back to like, I'm not really worried about Trump. I'm worried about everybody else that's in his orbit and what they're going to do. And the thing about pardoning all of the folks that were part of January 6th who were arrested, there was a lot of arrests made for Oath Keepers leadership and some of the Proud Boys folks. And those organizations have been quieter since. We haven't seen them roaming the streets with their guns. This is going to let their leadership back out of prison so they can get back to organizing, and is a pardon. So it erases anything. So first off, they can all carry guns again. And second off, it's going to tell them you were right. All of the things that all of your instincts of what to do with protesters, with Democrats, with liberals, with woke things, with trans people, people of color, all of that was correct. So all of the things that you're doing, you're right on. Go for it. And I think that's going to be the scariest thing is just sort of.
That's going to be the thing that happens first. I think that stuff's going to happen they're not going to get let out until he's in there, but I think you're going to start seeing armed gangs of vigilantes in the streets before January 20th even. I think they're like, it's only been a couple days. Like, I think they're going to I've already seen the Trump trucks honking and waving and flying their big fucking flags and cutting people off in traffic and shit. And I think I'm not 100% on this, but I do think we're going to start seeing gangs of vigilantes roaming around, being knocking on doors, asking who you voted for. I think that's coming up. Just checking in, make sure you're right. You're right with them.
Even backing off of that a little bit, the things that will happen are anytime there's a protest, we will definitely see them because we've already seen them in the past. And
it's going to be illegal to protest, by the way.
Okay,
they're making that illegal. So
that will be eventually. But we're talking first off. The other thing is any kind of pride celebrations. I'm really happy that we've got our Trans Day Remembrance event in November because I think that's going to be before all the stuff really gets bad. But Pride next year, there are going to be armed people there protesting against Pride. It's going to be dirty.
I mean, I don't even think it's going to happen. Like, I don't think there will be Pride next year. Like, that's not going to even, maybe, I don't know. I don't fucking know what's actually going to go on. All I know is like, shit's going to get real fucking bad, real fucking fast. And, I don't see a solution from within. Not for us anyway. Maybe there are some people that are like, like that aren't the primary targets that are going to be able to do some sort of like organized resistance. Like I do know a couple people that are already arming up and like, stockpiling ammunition and resources and stuff. That's a thing that's going on. So, I mean, this is like what I'm talking about is like, even if you do stick around, like, even if you think you're going to stay, it's going to get fucking bloody. Like there's going to be violence on a scale that this land has not seen since the Civil War.
And
And
I think one thing we really haven't talked about is uh how long are allies going to remain allies?
yeah,
How long are people going to openly support trans people when it comes to stuff like that?
Hmm.
One of the things I hate Hitler and going like it's Nazi Germany, but one of the things people talk about is, it was our neighbors, it was our friends who turned us in.
Hmm.
And if someone who's cis and is just a friend of yours, and where I work, they've always had my back and they've always done them. I was like, if something really came to it, like if the government put pressure on them, would they continue to pay me? Would they continue to have me on salary? If they go to your neighbors, is your neighbor not going to turn you in? Is your neighbor willing to put themselves in the line of fire for you? Are your cis friends willing to put themselves in the line of fire for you? And I'm not saying like they told me last week they would do it. I'm talking about when shit really happens.
shit's different when there's a gun in your face. It just is. Like it's
I
a
mean,
different fucking
maybe you can
deal.
call the ACLU and they can send an armed lawyer to stand between you and the government. But again,
An armed lawyer,
armed
armed
lawyer.
lawyers. I love
Maybe
that.
maybe Nancy Pelosi can kneel between me and someone who's trying to murder me, but I'm not gonna. And I thought about, like I said, I have festivals booked all next year. I've got shows I'm directing, and I legit thought about like staying behind. And like the whole reason I have one bird. The whole reason I did it is for visibility and stuff. And it's just like that was at a point where there was structure and there was something there is no structure. And do I want to drive from Detroit to Pennsylvania and go through Ohio and risk having to go to the bathroom or risk getting pulled over for speeding and see where that goes? I I've talked about this a lot on this particular podcast. Like, I am not afraid of being myself, and I'm not afraid. I am not, I don't, if someone wants to murder me because of who I am, that is on them. That is a reflection of who they are. It's not a reflection of me. What I don't want to do is I don't want to live under that system.
That's
I
the
don't want
same
to,
thing with me. I'm
I'd be
not afraid.
I'd happy to die to be who I am, but
Yeah,
I don't want to live in whatever this is going to be.
yeah, I'm not afraid to die. I don't want to watch the environment around me decay into what I know is it's going to be. Like I don't want to feel I don't want to I'm an empathetic person. I don't want to feel even if they don't get me. Like I don't want to watch my friends get got. I don't want to feel that directly. I'm going to have to I'll be doing it from afar and it's going to fucking hurt from another country, but I won't be in the exact proximity. Like I've talked about this before. Like I think a lot of people talk about, well, what can the president really do? What is the president's power really? Because there's checks and balances. Like let's assume all that remains intact, which it's not. But like let's assume all that remains intact. Well, one of the things that the president's really done, one of the most prominent powers that the president has always had, is the president establishes the national mood. And when the president makes you feel good, like Barack Obama did, the world feels good. Like Obama didn't actually do a whole lot. Like but he did talk a good game. He said nice things, and most people, most days thought that they were doing well and felt pretty good about themselves, and the interactions that people had reflected the mood that he put out into the thing. And then you contrast that with when Trump was president, or if you can remember before Barack, when George W. Bush was president, which was also terrible. Like it was very bad. There was a lot of fear. There was a lot of anger. There was a lot of like scared. Like it felt shitty. You walked around and you were like, this feels bad. This shit sucks. I'm fucking miserable. Depression goes up. Drinking goes up. Like coping mechanisms go up. Like the mood that's coming, that's already starting, is so just repugnantly foul that for that reason alone, I don't want to be here. I don't want to sit in the middle of the cesspool that is going to be the fucking bad fucking vibes that Trump is and embodies, and that the Republicans are. Like, I need, for my sanity, I need to be in a place that doesn't feel that level of gloom and doom every day from every direction all around me. I at least need to be sheltered from that to some degree. And so for that reason alone is enough for me to get the fuck out. And like I got lucky. I have a place to go. I have someone helping me out in Canada. I didn't have that for sure a couple weeks ago, and I've been contemplating what the fuck I was going to do. And if I didn't have anywhere to go, that I had a place to go, my plan was to rent a car and steal it, drive south and make my way to either Chile or Argentina and just see what happened. And it would have been risky, and I don't know what would have happened, but I would rather die on that journey and have a bad time there, at least not knowing what's going to happen, than stay here and know exactly what's going to happen and just how bad it is going to get, and probably suffer a fate, in my opinion, a fate worse than death, which is what trans people are staring down the fucking barrel of, in my opinion. Like, I would rather die than deal with what's coming up here. And that's me personally. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm being hyperbolic. Maybe I'm being reactionary. I don't think so. But you've got to make your own decision as to how you're going to deal with this. But I strongly urge each and every one of you, trans, cis, anything, really take a look at what's happening. Really take a good look and what's at stake for you and your family, and what the consequences are if you stay here.
I think there's a lot of stuff we can do to help other trans folks. I think there's a lot of stuff we can do to help prepare folks for what's coming, sort of spread the word, spread this, like Genevieve put in chat on Twitch, passport is number one. Get your passport ready. Number two, find
Oh, Emily froze up a little bit there. Well, if it looks
some
like he
kind
might
of a
have froze up
plan.
too. Yeah, there's a little freeze there. Okay.
Make sure
Emily,
that you have
pause. Emily, you froze up a little bit and we missed a good chunk of what you said. Could you kind of start from a paragraph or two ago?
Sure. So passport is number one. Make sure you got that. Make sure it's current. That is the most important thing. Second, if you know somebody who lives in a different country, or can find somebody online, start building up those contacts and find a place, find a couch you can crash on. Make sure that you got a place to go. Have some kind of plan in place that you can pick up and go easily and quickly if it needs to. Beyond that, like I said, when the election happened, I put a note out I run a trans peer group here locally, and I put a note out to everybody like, should we put on an emergency meeting? And everybody was like, yes. So we had a meeting, and it was just everyone needed that space. I think there's going to be a lot of need for that kind of space and interaction, and showing up for other folks that will be really helpful. Where I personally struggle in starting the transverse and running this peer group and doing the things I am locally and running the trans events here in my area, a lot of people rely on me. A lot of people count on me. And my whole life has been, for the last 4 years, has been helping other trans folks. And so my personal dilemma is, when do I pull the ripcord and get out, versus, how long I should stay to help others, because I have to be willing and ready, if I'm going to stay and help others, to lay down my life, because that could be what it comes to. And that's going to be a tough decision for me. So, that's sort of just a personal thing, personal note I'm sharing of where my head is at. I don't clearly I'm not very positive about all of this. I'm right in line with what Lilith and Amanda are saying. I share a lot of those beliefs and how dire this is going to be. And like I said, that then becomes my decision. Is I've got I'm working on my passport. I'll have that next week. And I've already secured a place, a couch to crash on in another country. And then it's just a matter of some of the details. But the big question is like, how long do I stay? Because I feel kind of hypocritical if I just up and leave. And Wiley and I were, a friend of mine, Wiley and I were talking about um, uh, in in helping others. Do you where is that line? Like, how much can you help here when you're in danger? How much can you help by being somewhere else? Like, does it really diminish how much you can do if you're in another country? And in some ways it does, but in other ways there's still things you can do to help. So it's all of these things that are my personal struggle that I'm dealing with now.
I'd like to just piggyback onto that just a little bit and just remind everybody that if you've ever had any emergency training in any capacity, the first thing that you get taught is that you protect yourself first. When you're on an airplane, when they go through in case of an emergency, the oxygen masks will deploy. If the oxygen masks deploy, secure yours first before you start securing anyone else's. And that applies in this situation and in all situations where there's risk and a threat and a cogent threat. So I honestly believe that I'm not saying everyone for themselves. I'm saying right now is survival mode. Like each of us as individuals and as families and as small collective groups, not as the big we, not as the transgender community as a whole, but in your small, close-knit circle, y'all have to decide for yourselves what the best course of action is for you. And I very strongly implore you to think about all of this. If you if you do decide to leave, don't half-ass it. Go for real. You need to liquidate. Liquidate. If you own property, sell your property. Divest from the dollar. Like, get out. Like, remember,
that is a recommendation. That is
that's a
a
recommendation.
recommendation.
That's
That is
if you're
something
gonna
that
do.
like, yeah.
But I'll say this: like, okay, every string that you leave attached, that every connection that you leave, is also a connection that they have to you. Just so you know.
And I'd like to go back a little bit. One of the reasons we talk about the importance of being able and being ready to leave, and one of the things I think we all really need to remember, we talk a lot about, thank you so much for the donation, Brett. One of the things that we really need to remember is we're trying not to equate this too much to Nazi Germany, because again, that seems extreme and all of that. We think that's pretty much where it's going, but in getting away, remember, as people start flooding out of the country might close the borders. They might not let people leave at some point. If a great number of people do flee, they might eventually shut down the ability to leave.
Yeah.
And that's where obviously it gets, that's the darkest timeline. That's the scariest, worst case scenario. But
can't rule that out, though.
we can't rule it out because we have seen it happen. It's not hyperbolic. It's not theoretical.
It's not science fiction. Like, there's documented historical evidence of these things happening in these scenarios, and the facts surrounding this are literally parallel to every rise of fascism that's ever happened anywhere in the known history of the geopolitical world. Like, it's not any different. Like, and everyone likes to think it's in all fairness to everyone like watching this and everyone out there that's thinking we might be hyperbolic, like, everywhere this has ever happened, people have said the same thing. Like, it's like, it can't happen here. Like, there's too many things in protection. This is America. It can't happen to us. We've got the Constitution. We've got all that stuff. But everyone that's ever happened to, if you look at pictures of Iran pre the Iranian Revolution in 1988 and 1989, when the mullahs took over and the Ayatollah took over, like, it looked like here. Like, there were women walking around in cute mini skirts and doing cool stuff. And like, now look at what Iran looks like. And like, if you think that can't happen here, like, what's happened there is theocratic fascism. It was Muslim, but now the only difference is that here it's Christian. Like, it's not any different from that.
I think the main thing is we talked about this earlier with the Civil War and then how we handled January 6th. And the same thing is happening now, when not that this is Nazi Germany, but similar things. And like, how many times you're growing up, you're like, why do we got to study stupid history class? And they're like, oh, we study history so that we never have to repeat it. And all we do is repeat history. We refuse to learn the lesson. And
Time's a flat circle.
yeah, I guess the only good thing about if we are following history of the lesson is that this will eventually peter out. It can't sustain itself. Like, eventually, all these people, like I said, they're gonna get everything they wanted and nothing they asked for, and this is gonna collapse. How long it takes, that I don't know. I haven't studied history enough to know how long it takes to collapse.
I have.
But
I'm a historian.
It's not going to last. It's not.
Well,
People won't put up with
it. It might last long. Like, we don't know how long it's going to last. The Third Reich lasted several years. I think it was 12 years was the Third Reich.
I mean,
the 1,000-year Reich.
In terms of the
That's
universe,
Germany.
12 years isn't that long.
But in terms of a human life, that's quite a long time. And what I'm getting at is, like, Germany, Nazi Germany, was actually one of the shortest fascist regimes. Germany and fascistic Italy were two of the shortest fascistic regimes. You look at Franco, General Francisco Franco, when he took over Spain, that lasted 37 years, if I'm right. Pinochet's Chile was about 27 or 28 years, I believe. I'm ballparking the numbers, but like, I know I'm not far off on any of them. Putin's Russia has been there since I think the 90s. Like,
I hear
it
you.
was the 1990s, so it's been almost 30 years there.
Let me ask you
Iran.
this. Let me ask you this. None of those countries have Nancy Pelosi kneeling in a kente cloth to stand up to them. So
no, she did not rip up a piece of paper in North Korea.
Yeah,
that's true.
She didn't,
and that might have changed everything.
Everything.
I just want to get back to just to nail this point home. Iran, that was 1978 into 79, and that's been going on and has no sign of changing. That's been going on since then. That's almost 50 years now. North Korea happened in the Korean War. That was the 1950s, and there's no sign of North Korea not being North Korea. So, like, it doesn't necessarily end quickly. But what does happen is a lot of people die, and in really bad ways. And with that,
yeah, I'm out of gas, y'all.
Yeah, I mean, I think too. I am still gonna do mediocre poker in a half an hour. Like, but like, I mean,
nice. Yeah, do it.
I'm gonna. Maybe I'm not. I think so. I said I'd do it. I don't feel fucking great. Like, but I need to eat something. I haven't eaten. Hey, everybody! Like, really, thanks a whole lot for tuning in, and thanks again for the super chat. That's a really big help. And if you had decided to leave a message, we would have read it, but instead, Brett Cohen left a hug furry emoji, and that's very wonderful. Thank you, Brett. Right? I know I gave you some shit earlier, but like, but I do appreciate it, and I hope you didn't take that too much personally. Like, I did jump down your throat a little bit, but like, I apologize, sort of. Like, I did mean what I said.
And then I just want to say, you know, on that note, thank you all so much for being here and staying through this. This is so much darker than I usually, I don't want to use the word allow, than we usually put out on the Transverse. Although I did do a news show for about a year and a half, and all of the news was really effing dark. So, you know, maybe it's not too off brand. But
we've had the warnings, like, is the
yeah.
thing is we've had warnings for this, and like, I have been mentally preparing for this and actually physically preparing this for a while. I saw this coming. I didn't know when. And you'd mentioned earlier that, like, it, when I think, was it Aaron in the morning said it was almost a relief when we found out as soon as we did. And I agree with that, because I was a little nervous. What I thought it was going to go down differently. I didn't think he would win the popular vote by as much as he did. But what
that's a different conspiracy theory.
it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. I don't believe those numbers at all. But like, what I will say is knowing that, like, in fact, this is what's going to happen, and having that 2-month time to prepare. The way I thought it was going to go down is Harris was going to win the popular vote, but they were going to sow confusion, and there were going to be states that didn't validate the election.
They had already started it. They had already started accusing Pennsylvania
that's how I thought
cheating.
It was going to go down, and they were going to sow confusion, and it was going to be this big mess, and they were going to kick it down to the House, and the House was going to supplant him or whatever it was. But there was going to be a long period of time. Like, if Harris had officially won that election and gotten the 270 electoral votes, I personally was not going to feel safe about it until she was actually sworn in. That was going to be the thing that made the difference. And then I would have had to wait until then, and then I wouldn't have had these 2 months to prepare. Like, and who knows what would have happened up to that point. Like, there's no way to say, but like, it didn't go down that way. The way it went down was, it was swift and concise. And that is, in a way, a fortunate thing, because that does give us from now until January 20th to really figure out what we're doing.
I just need to point something, like, you like did the wind down for the show, and my body started saying, like, all right, it's time to go pee, because you've been holding it for like, we can't ramp it back up. Like, if we're gonna keep going, I have to go take a break and come back.
We got a show. I gotta be on another show in 20 minutes now. I'm fucked. Right. I'm so hungry. I'm dead.
It's a really tough subject. It's really hard for the audience to sit here and watch, I really appreciate everybody that's put in their comments. A most sovereign lady, my heart goes out to you and your family for what you already experienced. That this is bringing up kind of shockwaves of bad memories for you. So I really appreciate y'all being here. I love you. You know, I'm going to be here as long as I can, helping y'all. I do have guests lined up for the transgender show. I just haven't got them booked yet. I will start doing that again. I will get Katie's episode and Kari's episodes edited and out for the podcast. It's been about 3 months since we've released an episode, so I'll get that going again. And I'm going to be here working for you as a community as long as I can, because I love you, and that's what my whole focus is in work. So I'll be here for you as long as I can. And then if I'm not here physically in this country, I will still be doing this work as long as the Transverse, the Twitch channel, the YouTube channel are legal and still allowed.
My life's commitment is re-upped with this. Like, this is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life, is helping people. And now, in a way, it's a clearer path, because like, I'm going to save myself. I'm going to get out. But once I'm out, once I'm set up and I have a modicum of stability in a new place, my mission at that point is to do everything I can to help people here survive and possibly escape. That's going to be what I do. So
You're gonna
Lilith,
let me say my little final thing
of
here?
course.
I love you all. I do have to pee. We'll be back next week, right? Are we gonna do this?
Yeah, we're doing this next week.
Next week?
We're gonna keep going with this.
Yeah.
And
I just want to
Transition
make
Tuesday is
sure.
still coming out. Yeah, I'm gonna.
We got all these people
I don't know
here.
what I'm gonna do about the other two shows. I honestly, I'm not 100% on mediocre poker after this. I'm gonna have to make a call.
I'm going to
but I
speak for
think
the
I probably
entire
will.
community and say it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do the show today. See how
I'm
it
gonna do the
feels,
show.
and we'll go
I'm
from
gonna
there.
see. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'll be here
All
in
right.
20 minutes. One last little thing before we sign off officially.
Oh my God. I gotta
Lilith,
pee.
you go pee. Get the fuck out of here. Then
No, finish
Lilith,
the show.
you're
I'm here till the end.
excused.
No. Finish.
I was gonna say that, in my opinion, I think this has been a pretty important show, and I think this needs to get out there. I would like to re-implore y'all that when this goes out, like I'd like you to share it if you can. I think spread this around, like get this out to the community. People need to hear this stuff because everyone's hearing a lot of like a milquetoast, like, oh, we're gonna organize.
We have lawyers waiting.
Like, yeah, like I think our perspective of doom and gloom is very important and needs to be out there. And if you agree, please get this out. Help us reach the people that need to be reached with this information, like with this. Please, that's what you can do.
And
Happy birthday, Walk Faster. Bye,
Happy
y'all.
birthday.
Hey, happy birthday.
All right. We'll see you next week.
Bye. Stay safe.